your friend just starts
Caught off
convulsing
guard, yeah.
and the thing bursts from from his chest, I would probably be sitting there like for about a good 5 to 10 minutes, like what the heck just happened?
And that's why Caleb gets chicken fingers at an Asian restaurant right there.
Soundstripe.
Welcome in another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of packed movie theaters and movie stores, and this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs. Joining me is one of my co-hosts, Dakota Lowry.
What's up, everybody?
And live from Texas, Ernie Ferguson.
We break quarantine, we could all die. So I'm breaking quarantine by being out here looking at cows while we do this right now.
Happy Thanksgiving from the Blockbusters crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, hope everyone's having a good holiday.
First real holiday, because I don't count Halloween as a holiday. So,
and happy 20th episode. Who would have thought it? 20 episodes.
Hey, that's pretty good. And we've already cleared 400 downloads, so that means we're averaging over 20 downloads an episode.
Look at us go.
We get
We're
it.
awesome.
You're a math major, Dakota.
I'm not a math major. Far from it. I do enjoy it, but no.
Quick question: What's the primary Thanksgiving dish at the Lowry and Ferguson households?
I don't know that there's a primary dish, but
or your favorite dish.
My deviled eggs, 100%.
Gosh,
my mom's deviled eggs. Well, my mom makes deviled eggs, and they get wiped out every single year.
No, yeah.
I don't get the deviled eggs thing. I think that's.
You like potato salad? It's
No.
basically potato salad in an egg form.
Let me tell you, me and Suggs go to an Asian restaurant, and he's trying to find the chicken fingers on the menu.
That is not true. That is what? Don't telling people lies like that.
I'm sorry. He gets the what is
it? The kitty table,
chicken. Oh, I can't think of it right
Sesame
now.
chicken.
Hibachi. The chicken hibachi. Yeah, or the sesame chicken.
Okay. Well, ninja and hibachi is very different than going to a Chinese restaurant.
To be fair, I was thinking of when we went to rock and roll sushi.
Okay, that's different. I don't like sushi, and yes, I did get the hibachi chicken at the sushi restaurant because I don't like sushi. It's very different. But anyways, I like.
What about you?
I like sweet potato casserole.
Here's a big question for that one: the pecans or marshmallows?
Neither.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not a sweet. I don't like sweet potatoes, so I mean that's just.
I don't really like.
Me.
I don't really like sweet potatoes either, but I like sweet potato casserole.
Well, I'm telling you, there's a big difference between sweet potato casserole with marshmallows and sweet potato casserole with like the candied pecans on top or whatever. And the pecans are significantly better.
Yeah, it depends if you just want crunch or not. You know, some people like the crunch, and that makes sense to get the pecans if you want the crunch into it. But again, I don't want any part of it, so I don't. It doesn't.
The marshmallows are just too sweet. It just makes it way. It's sweet enough to begin with. The marshmallows push it over the top.
I just eat it the way my Nana makes it.
There you go. That's all that matters. That is all that matters. However she does it is good, and that's like for us. We don't meet on Thanksgiving. We meet I think we're going to meet on Friday or Saturday. I can't remember my family because since I'm out of state, you know, us getting together for a specific holiday date, it never happened. So like for this Thanksgiving, all my family is going to go their separate ways, and then we'll come together. I believe on Friday or Saturday, I can't remember, but like we'll have fajita fixings, and then my mom made like chicken spaghetti type of stuff. So we don't do conventional holiday foods here. So we just do like in Christmas time, we'll go get barbecue and we'll have barbecue and have that. But then we'll also make chicken fried steak. Like my dad will set it up in my parents' barn, just like have like 4 skillet fryers or whatever. And then it's like my mom and I, we sit there and we'll just chain reaction, just make all the chicken fried steaks. And that's good stuff.
Well, I hope when y'all meet, you won't start convulsing and an alien won't pop out of your chest because today's episode is on the 1979 horror science fiction film Alien. This was picked by Dakota. Tell us
Hmm.
why you picked this.
So I think it's well established by this point that there's a lot of movies that I have not seen,
It's on the
and
list.
this was on the list.
It's on the
This was on
list.
the list, and Suggs and I went and saw Aliens Romulus over the summer, and I really enjoyed it. And so I kind of wanted to go back and start the whole franchise over again and see where it all began.
Yeah, well, I mean, this, you're looking at a movie that kind of broke the norm with a lot of things because it
Yeah.
wasn't a typical slasher. It's an alien in outer space, and also you get Sigourney Weaver as the heroine in this movie, which for 1979 was a pretty a concept of a female being the hero of the film
Hmm.
is not something
Especially
that you saw.
a relatively unknown actress also
Hmm.
with it. And
Well.
that's one thing that's good about this is they hide the fact that she's going to be the heroine till about, between a quarter of the way or halfway through the movie. And that's
Hmm.
that was one of the beauty parts of the movie too, is that, unknown person. And again, for someone that has a daughter, I like movies that have a strong heroine, not necessarily like I can't remember the other woman in the cast that was absolutely annoying every single time that she screams all the time.
Yeah, the one
But
that died right at the end.
yeah,
She
okay,
didn't she
bye.
didn't die quick enough.
Exactly. She was annoying, especially when it came for Dallas's term and how she was annoying. But we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, what you see for me in Alien is the same process for Halloween in many different ways. One, you really kind of have a B level movie turned into an A level movie. Because at this time, sci-fi horror were B-level movies. They weren't
Hmm.
these huge movies or whatever, but listening to or doing the research where they talk about how the writers wanted to create, I believe it was Jaws in space. Whereas Ridley Scott, the director, wanted to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space, and so you get that horror sci-fi type of thing mixture in here. But it's again what makes Halloween good. Alien did even better, and that's that
Hmm.
slow pace that I my shoulders didn't tense up until about 30 minutes after the movie. They were raised up, and I was like, if I could white knuckle something, I was gonna white knuckle something because again, it wasn't, and it took them a long time for you to get the xenomorph to see the full fledged of the whole entire alien, and
Hmm.
again, that's what I thought made this movie absolutely beautiful in it is the slow burn that happened and just the making you uncomfortable, as the whole entire movie pans out.
And so they kind of took a lot of risk with this movie. This is only I was looking it up earlier that Ridley Scott is credited for 486 films over like from I think 1977 was his first film all the way up to here, and this was only his second film that he had ever done. And I think for 20th Century Fox to come out and to kind of take that gamble with him on a genre that really wasn't that big at the time, to go out with a director that really didn't have any blockbusters to his name at all, and then kind of listen to him, like it really says something to Ridley Scott's genius. I think I read somewhere that that 20th Century Fox came in and saw Scott's storyboards about the movie where he
Mhm.
was writing everything out, and they actually doubled the budget because of what they saw on those storyboards. You know,
Well, that's
uh,
the thing. His first movie was, I think, like The Duelist or something like that,
the duelist,
which
yeah,
again is the polar opposite of what you can get from Alien. And the
yeah,
one thing
yeah.
about Ridley Scott also is, uh, despite what y'all think about this other movie, as far as sci-fi genre, you have Alien and Blade Runner as far as world building. Now
Hmm.
you can debate how good of a movie the story is of Blade Runner. But the one thing is, I mean, you get Alien, which is dark and gritty and
Hmm.
absolutely works. Then you get the visual appeal of Blade Runner, where it has the lights, it has the neon. There, it's still dark, but it's not, and it has the gritty, but there's more light to it. There's more color to it, and that's one thing I think you can probably look at most sci-fi films, and they're going to come back to one of three films: Star Wars, Alien, or Blade Runner, and show the effect that those three movies had on them.
Well, Alien is a 1979 science fiction horror film directed by Ridley Scott and written by Dan O'Brien, based on a story by Dan O'Bannon, my bad. Written by Dan O'Bannon, based on a story by O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. Follows a spaceship crew who investigate a derelict spaceship and are hunted by a deadly extraterrestrial creature. The film stars Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. It was released on May 25th, 1979. It grossed $187 million on $11 million. It is ranked by the American Film Institute as the 7th best film in the science fiction genre and the 33 greatest film of all time by Empire, and has spawned a very successful franchise, including an extremely good sequel. I do not have the Rotten Tomatoes pulled up.
93 and a popcorn of 94.
Yeah, I knew it was very high.
I want to know what other sci-fi movies were put ahead of Alien. I mean, I can see Alien being 1, 2, 3, but thinking that there's 6 other sci-fi movies in front of it. It's
I would
probably
imagine.
like
I mean, Star Wars. Yeah.
What was that list you called?
You're gonna get like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
And then Terminator, I imagine, would probably be up there. But I mean, look.
What was it that you called it? That list?
It's the American Film Institute.
All right.
So, but yeah, I mean, Alien. This is. I mean, you talking about. I find Alien and Aliens. I find it harder to believe that there's a better 1-2 movie and sequel out there, and you don't get Aliens without this masterpiece of a movie.
And just from listening and just seeing parts of it, and this is my first time seeing Alien, and I've seen bits and pieces of Alien too, is they're not necessarily the same movie. You kind of get like just off the top of my head, like Die Hard and Die Hard 2, it's Die Hard 2 is basically Die Hard in an airport, and they kind of film it the same way. Whereas, the storyline of the first Alien is much more. I liked it better. It's more visually appealing to me, as Alien 2 is the more fun movie. There's more action to it, and so. But again, Sigourney Weaver. I mean, many people talked about this as I was listening to different podcasts talking about this. Of she's 5'10", so you're talking about what woman has the stage presence, the size to be able to take on a role of this nature, because there's not too many women. Somebody mentioned like Charlize Theron, but I don't think she's that tall as far as modern day women. I don't know of how many women have the ability, the classical acting chops that she has. They talked about how her and Meryl Streep were in the same class, I think, at Yale. And somebody mentioned Meryl Streep for this. I just don't know how the physical part of this Meryl Streep can do, but it's Meryl Streep. She can do pretty much anything. But Sigourney Weaver just became a big, huge star from this, and rightfully so. She was awesome in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, as far as if you're talking about Mount Rushmore of bad female characters, bad female heroes, and I'm talking about bad in the good way, Ripley is definitely on the Mount Rushmore, and she might be the best. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I know Sarah. A lot of people like.
The only one that I can think will come close, it won't overtake her, would be Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2.
That's Sarah Connor, yeah.
Sarah Connor, yeah. Not necessarily in the first one, but in the second one,
yeah. But
looked like she could rip your head off with her forearms.
And I think you get, and the guy that did that, James Cameron, he did Aliens. So you get there's a lot of the Sarah Connor character takes a lot from Ellen Ripley in Alien and definitely Aliens, but we're not talking about Aliens. But like you said, I mean, it's 2 completely different movies. And you look at this, I mean, this is a haunted house horror movie straight up. And, the Alien is not in it that much,
No.
And that's, you're talking about budget restraints. It's $11 million. So, and it's all practical effects. So what they do with the alien, obviously, in 1979, they're not going to be able to do much with that because he's so massive. But they make it work. The alien doesn't need to be in it that much to create the suspense and the horror and the unease you get. And so credit to Ridley Scott for taking something pretty simple and turning it into one of my favorite movies of all time.
And I think the way that he really did that was, I think I'd read somewhere that he was worried about it would look too humanoid because it was just a guy in an alien costume that was running around chasing after him. And I think that they said that he didn't want that to be portrayed, like he wanted it to intentionally, like, to be something otherworldly, and so that's why you don't see it that often. Or when you do see it, it's like you see a close up of its head, or you see like just from the chest up or something like that. Like very very few times do you actually see like a full body shot of the alien.
Well, I think that's
Uh,
again one of the issues that we've talked about as far as some horror genres or whatever, is that you have too much reveal of the antagonist, the
Yeah.
pulling back a little bit, and I mean, the best thing that you have is your audience's imagination. That
Hmm.
that is more frightening than then when it pops out of the stomach, starts dancing, you're like, "Oh, am I supposed is that cute or is that not cute?" Or, I mean, am I supposed to go, "Bleh?" I mean, but yeah, I mean, but the holding on to seeing the full xenomorph until the end does a
Hmm.
great job because, again, you just see little bits and pieces of it until finally you're like, "Oh my gosh, look at how big this thing is," or how it looks.
Hmm.
I think that's a very wise thing also. And another part of Ridley Scott in this whole entire movie is this is 1979, and yes, the set designs were simple, but they work. I mean, the rooms,
Hmm.
they worked. I mean, all these lights and they were physical buttons. It's not just having a touch screen, and that loses a lot. I think by having touch screen this or that, but having buttons to press or just having a wall full of lights, regardless if they have meaning or not. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, and when anytime that the xenomorph or the alien has taken over a room, you get this biological feel to these space things,
Hmm.
humidity, things dripping. It's just you're like, oh man, that's foul. But then you get episodes whenever they're I think it was on the planet. It's loud, it's windy, and then
Hmm.
they shoot back to the ship, quiet, and then they go back to the
Hmm.
planet, loud. I mean, that's a way to just kind of really push the tension without really doing much other than editing.
Hmm.
And I thought that worked. I thought that worked out well. It's
uh,
like even Dallas's death, the beeping noise,
Yep.
it starts beeping, and you're like, again, that's that tension that's brought up there.
Uh, and we're about to get right into the movie here in a second, but I was looking over the awards that this movie won, and by the way, it won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, and very deservedly so, especially for 1979. But it
Hmm.
won 3 Saturn Awards for Best Science Fiction Film, Best Direction for Scott, and Best Supporting Actress for Cartwright, who played Lambert. And I am just trying to figure that one out myself because Seth is the most annoying character in the whole movie. So I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't really get that one. I
Okay.
don't understand that
But
one.
she does play the role. I mean, not you're going to have people that are going to freak out. And again, as annoying she was, it checks the box. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been asleep for a long time. Now all of a sudden, all these people are dying. Well, one, you see something punch out of a guy's chest. Oh, let me not forget the part where he's got something hugging his face all of a sudden too. Before that, so if they didn't have someone in that role, I think the movie would be lacking. Now, is it an annoying character? Yes. Is it annoying the way she is? Yes. Did she act the same way on Invasion of the Body Snatchers when she found out that Donald Sutherland was a body snatcher? Yes, she did the same thing. But you have to have that character
Hmm.
because somebody's going to act that way. Not everybody's going to act calm and cool. Not everybody's going to act like Ash.
And by the way, speaking of, you mentioned the chest burster bursting out and dancing. I would bet you $5 that Dakota has no idea what movie you're referencing.
No, I
No,
don't. No, I don't. I have no idea.
no, that
Yeah,
would be
that's just. we all compared movies to, this one to the Aliens and Die Hard to Die Hard 2. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's like, yeah.
I'm just like one of the listeners, guys.
No, this is it. They Spaceballs does this where again the alien comes out of the guy's stomach and is hello my darling, hello my lover, hello my goddamn friend. It just starts tap dancing and has a cane and a top hat type of thing. So they kind of make fun of it. So
Didn't know that. Didn't know that at all.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Well,
It'll have to be on the list someday.
Sounds like it.
The list. Dakota's adding it to his list right now. He has to unroll his 10-foot long thing of parchment.
What year did that go?
Oh, it's in the 90s. Right? It's in the 80s or not? Yeah, it's a Mel Brooks movie. So I mean, that should tell you something right there. That's going to be tongue in cheek in everything it does.
I think 87 is the year. So yeah, get your parchment out. That's got your. It just kind of rolls out like Santa's naughty and nice list, and just add that to your list. So the commercial space tug Nostromo is returning to Earth with a 7-member crew in stasis: Captain Dallas, Executive Officer Kane, Warrant Officer Ripley, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, and Engineers Parker and Brett. The ship's computer, Mother, detects a transmission from a nearby planet and awakens the crew. Following company policy to investigate transmissions indicating intelligent life, they land on the planet, and Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out to investigate. They discover that the transmission comes from a derelict alien spaceship, where they find the remains of a large alien with a hole in its torso. Later, Mother deciphers part of the transmission, which Ripley determines to be a warning message. So like you mentioned earlier, there's a very slow build into the movie, and while it is slow, you get some really great, just I don't want to necessarily call it world building, but you just get this massive spaceship, and you're just kind of going, and you got to think this is 1979. It's funny to look back now because just to think what they thought the future might look like, but obviously it doesn't hold up extremely well, but it's still cool to look like. And then the whole thing with Mother, it's very, very interesting that it kind of basically AI, which is what we have.
Is it AI or is it a magic 8-ball? Because there was a lot of times that it was just
it was kind of a worthless AI, is what it was.
Yeah.
Well, is a magic 8-ball AI?
Ooh.
There you go. There's your question.
Yeah.
But they do a good job early on though of have you somewhat invested in the crew as they wake up. Everybody's kind of groggy and they're just talking about it. But again, you have like Parker talking about the money, talking about wanting to get paid, and you see the difference between the upper ones, like Dallas and Ripley, and then Parker, and I can't remember the other guy's name is. It's just the difference in pay, and and that's why Ash is telling him that we have to go investigate this or you don't get paid, and he's like, man. So but you see that, but they do a good job of that, and that's the first thing you kind of look at and you go, Ash, he's drinking milk or whatever that is stuff that he's drinking early on at the meal. They're this whole entire time. Sorry, it's a 1979 movie. Spoilers, but the whole entire time I'm just like, man, what's the deal with Ash? He's just, what's the deal with him until we get the final the reveal with that, which was the stomach, the stomach burster. I was prepared for that because everybody's heard about it or seen it, but Ash's reveal that got me, and it made me after I got done with the movie, I was like, oh, that little turd the whole entire time has been doing this, to try to make sure they get the alien. And I was like, but they do a good job of just showing him, how he is, but just the daily interactions, and that's kind of what I thought was pretty good too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that they kind of slow built up to, and it's kind of one of those things where you want to go back and watch it and see like, oh, well, now I understand why he didn't want Ripley to, warn them or send the warning out to him or things like that. Like, it's just little things. Honestly, did not catch on that he was a whatever.
See, I was wondering if you would, because, and this is some spoilers for the Alien Romulus movie if you haven't seen it.
For a 1979 movie, so.
No.
Romulus.
For
Romulus.
Romulus, that came out.
Romulus came out this year. Yeah,
you can spoil that because I ain't watching it.
Yeah, I'm spoiling it. I'm trying not to spoil it for listeners. I don't really care if I spoil it for you, Ernie. But they bring in an android in that movie, and it's the same. They use like special effects to recreate Ash from the original. So I didn't know if you'd remember. You saw I mean, I know it was back in August, so I was wondering if you would remember.
Was it August or was it July?
Oh, okay, what does it matter?
I don't know.
This summer, does that make a difference?
Sorry, excuse me. I didn't remember.
Like if it was August, you might remember, but if it was July, you wouldn't remember.
Yeah, honestly, I should have remembered it from that movie, and I didn't, and I don't know why I didn't. I don't know why it surprised me so much, but yeah.
But yeah, I'm just trying to.
So for me, when is Romulus in the according to Alien?
So Romulus comes after Alien, but before Aliens.
So they recreate Ash, or is just Ash is just another?
No, it's I mean, it's the same actor. Well, it's obviously the actor's dead, so it's not the same actor, but it's the same. Like they use, kind of like they did with Leia in Rogue One at the end, and
But
stuff like that.
He was dead in this movie, though.
But it's not the same android. This android's name is Rook. It's a different android, but it just looks the same.
Oh, so it's like Star Wars, like clones. They all look like Boba Fett without the arm.
I think they just wanted to do like an homage to that actor because
gotcha.
He was
I think they actually took another actor that voiced this guy, but just kind of like CGI'd his face onto the other actor type of thing.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out how do I get one of these cryo chamber things because that sleep just sounds like some of the best sleep.
Oh my word!
I can't imagine what morning breath is like whenever you wake up from that thing.
Dude, no,
they're all in each other's face and all this kind of stuff. It's like dragon breath.
I'll tell you one thing I did like about all of this, though, is the fact that like it wasn't just in this conversation. It was something that really stood out to me, and it's part of the reason why I watched it with subtitles because I couldn't. It was hard for me to focus on what one person was saying, but the fact that they had other people talking around them, as if it was just multiple people having conversations, it was just everybody sitting there and talking to one. Oh, to me, like it just made it feel a lot more like a natural conversation rather than like a movie conversation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is a director type of thing. Wow, something just exploded. I guess Ash exploded out there for y'all. But there are some directors that don't want that background ambient type of just talking, but Ridley Scott is one of those that, and again, when you have multiple people that, again, you want to try to bring in the film, then you have the main conversation you're focusing on, but you still need to have that other conversation. So those people so you don't have just a singular focus on one person. You wanted to focus in on this whole entire crew. Cause like I said, I mean, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew Ripley was going to be the heroine because I know the story of it. But if you were watching this for the first time, again, you wouldn't know that Ripley was going to be the hero of this. And that goes back to having people having conversations over each other where it doesn't necessarily look like one person is more important. And so I think that's a good choice as far as what a director is doing, is doing that choice.
Well, as they search the spaceship, Kane discovers a chamber containing hundreds of large eggs. When he touches one, a spider-like creature springs out, penetrates his helmet, and attaches itself to his face. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the Nostromo as the acting senior officer Ripley refuses to let them on board, citing quarantine regulations, but Ash overrides her. While Parker and Brett are at work on repairing the Nostromo, Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face. He stops when he discovers that his highly corrosive acidic blood could harm Kane and potentially damage the ship's hull. The creature eventually detaches itself and dies. After the crew returns to space, Kane awakens with some memory loss, but otherwise seems well. During a final crew meal before returning to stasis, he suddenly chokes and convulses. A small alien creature bursts from his chest, killing him, and escapes into the ship. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way. So he's looking, first of all, Kane seems very intent on just going and going and going, even though Lambert's like, let's just get out of here, and I probably would do the same thing. But he goes to this egg sac, or whatever you call it. He notices there's something alive in it because he's poking it. It's moving. Then it opens. If you know something's alive in there and it opens, would your first thing to be to look face first into it?
I wouldn't poke it because he wasn't even poking it beforehand. He was just shining a light on it. Like it didn't even spring out until he took. Like I'm not even touching it. I'm just shining a light. Oh, there's something moving in there. Let me get out of here.
No, there was something moving in there, and he said, "Let me put my face right over it and just see what it is."
It also kind of depends on what Kane's actual role was, because somebody mentioned about again the same argument, but that what if his role was like an explorer, where again the curiosity part of it. Again, the three of us are going, don't be stupid. You don't have a clue what this is. It's pulsating. Don't stick your face. Well, I guess also you have a helmet on. You think you're pretty much safe, which was kind of weird when they had him in the when they finally were trying to do all these tests, and they have these just nurses wimpy masks.
They have a respirator
across your
with
face.
no oxygen on.
Okay, this thing went through a helmet, and we're just going to put this piece of cloth over our face, and that's going to keep that thing from humping my face. No, I don't think so. That's not working. But that goes back to to the curiosity of man. There are some people. It doesn't sound like sound like the three of us, but there are some people that would be absolutely fascinated and would have to investigate.
But I mean, you also got to think this guy's kind of in a. I mean, he's kind of in a Neil Armstrong type of situation. This is the first time humanity's ever come across anything like this. But I also kind of sided more with.
I don't know if are we going to say it's the first time they've ever come across anything like this? I mean, we don't.
They had to know something existed because
Yeah,
why would Ash and the company? I mean, the company basically says. I mean, that was their main goal, right? At the very end of the movie, it talked about that was the main goal, was to find not the ore that they were getting. Their goal was the extraterrestrial, and screw the crew. You're expendable. This thing, who Ash knew was pretty much indestructible. So Ash knew. Again, that's I don't know what the end plan for the company was. If they knew that this was indestructible and in a bad mood, and the crew is they're dispensable. So what was the end game of the company? That's one thing I didn't understand.
But also, wasn't it like it said if you receive a transmission, you have to investigate it?
Yes.
So I guess like it's like I think it almost sounded like a Neil Armstrong thing. It's like they knew they were there. We knew the moon was there, but he was the first man who walked on it. He was the first man who interacted with it. And I think that's kind of the situation I'm thinking of here. Is like that might have known they were there, but this is the first time you have like a human like face-to-face interaction with them.
So Mother's the one that opened up their cryo chambers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they got what they thought was the SOS.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So that's the big business, trying to take the man down.
Well, yeah, we're and I want to get into that, but we're going to get into it a little bit later. But going back to the, what we just discussed here, we get you get the whole thing. So they're trying to like peel it off his face, and you get, first of all, I mean, what did y'all kind of think about Ripley and not letting them on? I mean, were you kind of
I'm like,
smart
that makes
woman,
complete sense. Which
smart woman.
So this is where really I got into. Ash was very much about we have to explore or you lose your money. Ash was very much by the book. Now all of a sudden she's saying no, you can't come in. No, you can't come in. And he just goes, oh, here you go, y'all come in. I mean, literally just walks down there.
See, but I think the way that I took that was that he was like, the way that I took it at least was that he was more concerned about the guy. Because I think that's more the picture they were trying to paint, was that like, you have another human on here who's about to die and has something attached to his face and he's trying to save him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're led to believe, and then you find out later that that's obviously not what his goal was.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what the goal was. Like, it makes sense now why he did what he did. But in the moment when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, well, he just cares about his friend or whatever.
I'm just sitting there on board with Parker, who's like, why don't they freeze him? And then when we get to our destination, then I'm like, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable idea, because it's not like it's going to kill him.
But who kiboshed that, though? Ash did. Again, that doesn't make sense, that unless Ash thought that freezing it would kill it and not be able to do more. But I'm like, that makes perfect sense. But I mean, Ash over and over and over again, undercut everything that they did,
Mhm.
and that's like, what was crazy is when they took him into quarantine and the face hugger was pulsating, on his face.
Mhm.
That's one of those things where I just, ugh. I was like, okay, that's just creepy right there. From what I gather, that was Ridley Scott's hand that was doing that pulsating, looking thing. So again, they did a good job because again, if I didn't watch the movie, I'm thinking, okay, that's what the aliens look like. They look like horseshoe crab, basically. That's what
Yeah.
they look like, and so it does a good job of setting you up for the gut buster or whatever. It's the stomach buster or
Mhm.
Yeah.
whatever. Because again, you're like, okay, John Hurt's Kane's dead. He's dead. That little creature got off his face. Now he's alive and he's all right. And you're like, what? I mean, I don't think anybody that watches for the first time was expecting the chest buster or whatever.
How did y'all react to the chest buster? Which I
I
guess
didn't. I watched it like that
through
Through your fingers.
through my
fingers.
fingers. Yeah. Because
For
I
the
knew it was
people
coming, especially when he
people who
started
are listening
convulsing.
at home.
Yeah, for those of y'all that don't have TV or cameras, yeah. Again, I don't like stuff like this. So again, I absolutely hated this movie because I had to watch stuff like this. But that the two take part of this whole entire thing, the first time where it wouldn't punch through the shirt, which I think that's probably that was great because again, the reveal of the alien, you're like, huh? I mean, but the whole entire his stomach bursting and the t-shirt red, all being bloody and stuff like that. That was even more scary or more just disturbing. Other than
Mhm.
what's her name screaming all the time, it's like, shut up.
Yeah. I
Well,
don't know. If I hadn't watched Alien Romulus, I probably would have been a little bit more
Hmm.
caught off guard by it. But
it's a little bit worse than Romulus because they do like
oh,
this.
it absolutely was.
They have like this. She has like this X-ray machine, and she puts it behind her back, and you see the alien like moving around in her
Yep.
in her chest. But
I don't need to see.
Kamei's question was, why did they just let it run off? Why didn't they like get a jar and just put a jar over it or something?
Well,
I'm
Didn't
like,
didn't Ash
well, first,
keep it or
well,
no,
first of all,
Ash stopped them.
it's
They were
pretty,
because
yeah.
Parker picked up a knife and was going to cut it.
But it was also pretty fast, and at the same time, I think that look, you're sitting there having a meal, and all of a sudden, your friend just starts
You caught off
convulsing,
guard, yeah.
and the thing bursts from from his chest. I would probably be sitting there like for about a good 5 to 10 minutes, like what the heck just happened?
and
So,
that's why Caleb gets chicken fingers at an Asian restaurant right there. Market.
well,
But it also makes sense though. This is one of those things where I can defend Ash for them not cutting it up because when they cut the face hugger, first off, you have that acid, which to
Yeah.
me is perfect reason that unlike other movies where just shoot it. I mean, that's all you got to do is just shoot it. Well, no, because it's got all this acid and that could kill you or could screw your ship. And that was a brilliant ploy right there to help. You got to try to outthink this character instead of just blunt force object it to death. And so
Mhm.
that kind of made sense there that he was like, no, don't do that. Even though he probably didn't, I don't remember him saying it, but that made more sense to me.
There was, as far as I know, this isn't with this movie, but that was one of the things that they did in Aliens Romulus that me and Suggs talked about was that they kind of explained off that, oh, well, this woman's never picked up a gun in her life, but she's just all of a sudden this amazing shot, but they actually did like auto like aim assist or something like that, where as long as you get close to it, it locks onto it. So
See,
I
that's to me that's like lazy writing, but it is what
well,
it is.
at least it explains it, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Unlike Michael Myers being able to drive, even though he hadn't been out in, he's never been in a car
Exactly.
ever in driving his car his entire life.
someone gave him lessons.
Yeah,
Well,
they did.
After ejecting Kane's body out of an airlock, the crew attempts to locate the creature using tracking devices and kill it. Brett follows the crew's pet cat Jones into a landing leg compartment where the now fully grown alien attacks Brett. The crew determines that the alien must be in the air ducts. Dallas enters the ducts with a flamethrower, intending to force the creature into an airlock, but it attacks him. Parker later finds only the flamethrower. Lambert suggests fleeing in the escape shuttle, but Ripley, now in command, explains that it will not support 4 people and insists on continuing Dallas's plan to flush out the alien. Real quick, I do want to mention that I love that they mentioned ejecting Kane's body because it makes me laugh so much when they just like yeet it out there.
It's just like tumbling through space. And you're
like you think it's gonna be like this like somber thing where it's just kind of like goes and then
like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or whatever. The fireworks going.
But I mean, this is the most brilliant part of the movie because you see the alien come out of the chest. It's this little thing. I mean, it's like rushing. I mean, you don't. I mean, what's so scary about that? And then you find. I mean, we're talking 20 minutes later, not even that. And then you get Brett that finds it, and it's now this fully grown monster of a thing. And so this, I can't imagine. I mean, I knew it the first time I was watching it. I was expecting it because, at that point, this was a few years ago, the first time I saw it. So at that point, you kind of know what the xenomorphs are, even if you haven't seen the movie, because it's just a thing of pop culture. But for trying to put yourself into someone watching it for the first time in 1979, I would consider that to be pretty shocking.
But even before you see that though, where they find the shedding of the skin, you're like going, I don't like snakes either. And so you find a snake skin or whatever, you're like, okay, this thing just got bigger. So, that was really kind of disturbing. And then also this is again where you see the environment of the ship start to change a little bit. It goes from being just this cold scientific type of craft, spaceship, to now all of a sudden there is like humidity. Like again, I want to know where this room is that has chains and has water in it, and what is it doing in there too. But that's just. Which also, I forgot this. I finally found the quote I wanted to use. Whenever Kane said, "I remember some horrible dream about smothering." That's that when he said that, it was like that just made me go, ooh. That was kind of just freaky.
Oh yeah.
But that again, when we talk about the deaths though, Dallas's death, is somehow they got the tracker on the xenomorph, and they hear the beep beep beep. Then all of a sudden the beep stops, and you're like, any normal person that's been around movies long enough knows, okay, you can't relax, But everybody's like, okay, it's gone. Then boop, it already shows up, and then it's just the beeping beeping just comes, and then bam, he's there. Which again, now you're talking about your headline character, your headline actor, Tom Skerritt, who he had the lead name in this. He's gone. So now now it's like, and this is where you start to get Sigourney Weaver really kind of step up, and then it becomes the Sigourney Weaver movie instead of just a crew movie. And again, they do a fantastic job of pushing Sigourney Weaver in this, and she does a fantastic job in it too.
I'm gonna tell you, Dallas's death, I legitimately jumped, and I don't know why I wasn't expecting it to be there right where it was, but it got.
Well, I mean, give credit to Ridley Scott what they're creating, because it's just beeping, and it's just getting more and more. It's faster and faster and faster, and you're kind of looking around like, where is it? And then that's just masterclass in directing. And
even it was this the one where it was just the grids and the two dots on the grids and moving towards it? Yeah.
There's just something, and that's one thing I've liked even throughout all of Star Wars lore, is the simple basic stuff works just as well as anything else. And it also kind of shows you too what kind of ship this is. It was a blue collar ship. It was an ore ship. So it didn't need to have all these fancy things on it. And so it just needed the basic things. And again, I think that works really well. I mean, you have all these characters that are disheveled looking. They look like they've been asleep for months or a year or however long. The ship is just it is a working ship, and that allows the xenomorph to come in, and that way they don't have to change lighting. The lighting's already dim and dark. That's where you get the dampness and the more of the environment type. That's the adding on to it that the movie does well there too. And so
I'm gonna ask this question because I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but so y'all watch the regular version, whereas I watched the director's cut. So I'm trying to remember what's different about it. So is when the alien gets Dallas, is that the last time y'all saw him in the movie?
Yes.
Dallas. Yeah.
Okay. So that's it kind of sucks that they took. There's not a lot different from the director's cut, but it kind of sucks they took this scene out because the alien doesn't actually kill Dallas. It takes him, and then because the aliens need hosts to breed other aliens. So Ripley finds him later cocooned to a wall, like the aliens do, and you get this scene where Dallas is like, "Kill me," and she ends up having to incinerate him with a flamethrower because he's suffering. So
dang, I didn't know
that's a tough scene. I'm kind of upset.
I did read somewhere that when Ridley Scott done with like everything that he had like 3.5 hours of, like, the movie was actually 3.5 hours long, and he cut it. But I did also read that he wasn't very happy that they came out with the remake or director's cut in 2007. That they did that?
I mean,
Ridley Scott seems like one of those guys that's not happy with like
anything.
Like,
yes.
Again, Blade Runner. I don't know how many different versions of Blade Runner there are out there. It's
so
annoying.
Many.
Yeah, it's almost worse than Zack Snyder stuff. There's so many different. It's got I have the red version, the director's cut blue version. I've got the upside down on my head version. It's just
the one thing I will say,
pretentious.
The one thing I will say when this came out was that he wasn't very happy when they come out with it. He said that the movie that he came out with in 1979 was what he wanted it to be, and that it was perfect the way that it was. That at least in his mind, that he didn't want it re-released.
Well, Ridley Scott, they just came out with it because it was an anniversary, and your film that was only made on $11 million has built a great fan base, so you should be happy.
Well, and you're also getting butt tons of money off of this too.
Yeah, you're
which
making a lot
lets
of
you
money
do other stuff also. So get over yourself. I mean, I guess if I was a pretentious director, I'd be the same way, because that makes you great. If
what's another 50 million if you've made $1 billion of them in a life?
Yeah, not a big deal.
Well, while accessing Mother, Ripley discovers that the crew was awoken and directed to the planet because the company secretly ordered Ash to return with the alien for study and to consider the crew expendable. She confronts Ash, who tries to kill her. Parker intervenes, knocking Ash's head loose and revealing him to be an android. The survivors reactivate Ash's head, and he confirms the company's orders. Ash states that the alien is unkillable and expresses his admiration for it, taunting them about their chances of survival. Ripley shuts him down, and Parker incinerates him. I'm laughing because Ernie's like, what you got? Flies? What mosquitoes?
It's mosquitoes. The state bird of Texas. I know in Sweet Home Alabama. I know in Sweet Home Alabama they say it's the state bird of Alabama, but no, it's state bird of Texas also.
So, but this is the big part of the movie. This is where you get the underlying meaning of the movie. It's not just. I mean, obviously, the big thing is it's a haunted house horror movie, and they're trying to escape from this alien. That's the main thing of the movie. But there's this underlying message where, and especially in 1979, maybe not would seem like a big deal today, but in 1979, where you get this company where money matters more than people, and
I think that applies to 2024 also.
No, I think it applies.
Far off the base 45 years later.
No, that's what I'm saying. These days, I don't think that's a very shocking. Like, if someone did that, tried that underlying message in a movie, it's not that shocking. Like, why are they surprised by that? But I feel like in 1979, and I could be wrong, but I feel like in 1979, people would find that to be a little bit kind of. I'm trying to find what the word I'm looking for is, but not very realistic. Like, they would really risk their workers' lives just to capture this alien, just to get some money. Like, that wouldn't happen. Here we are 45 something years later. Here we are.
Pretty accurately depicted the future, didn't it? With space travel, trying to go to a bunch of different planets. The government's now claiming that there's aliens. A company doesn't really care about its employees, and now everything is run off of AI. So Alien pretty well hit the mark on this one.
That's the two parts of this scene that makes your jaw drop. One, how Ash tried to kill Ripley. I mean, she was knocked out, and he rolls that paper up. And then
wait, hold on. He doesn't roll that paper up. He rolls that nudie magazine up.
Sorry. Sorry.
Because it's the most random thing. Like, see, they just he throws her down, and there's just all these pictures of half naked women hanging up on the wall.
Whose bunk was that?
Probably Brett or I would think Brett.
Yeah, creepy old man type of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, shoving it down her throat, I'm like, dude, you're a robot. Can't you just like snap her neck or something like that? So you have that, and then the second reveal of Parker almost knocking his head off, and again, white stuff coming out, and you're like,
Mhm.
I'm still like, what the crap is? Literally in my notes, I said, what the crap? I was like, what
Yep.
is all that stuff coming out?
Yeah,
And
because
just
you see like like a small reveal of it when
Yeah,
he
like
like the
it's
scene of him sweating with it, and I was
yeah,
like, I saw it and I was like, that's weird. What in the world is that?
but I like what Ash said when they asked him, how can they kill it? And it talks about it's the perfect organism. Its structural
Mhm.
perfection is matched only by its hostility. I was like, oh man,
Which kind of
that's
goes back maybe to an earlier thing where he's like, maybe he did know that like freezing it wasn't going to do anything
hmm,
because
that's true.
it's designed to survive in harsh environments, and if you freeze it, it's not going to do anything. It's not going, it's not going to kill it. It's not going to preserve it. It'll still come out.
I like his last line was, "I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies." You're like,
and then
man,
he
this
has
ain't
and
this.
then he
Pretty
has that,
cold, yeah,
and not only that, he has that like half smirk to it. So it's
yeah,
like,
And then
eh.
they torch him, which I love that they
yeah,
torched him.
yeah.
That was awesome too.
Well, the crew decides to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. While gathering supplies, Parker and Lambert are killed by the alien. Now alone, Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence, but the alien blocks her path to the shuttle. She retreats and unsuccessfully attempts to abort the self-destruct. She reaches the shuttle unhindered with Jones, narrowly escaping as the Nostromo explodes. So, I mean, this is the part where we really get to Ripley is the hero of the movie. And as
Hmm.
as much as I love the character of Ripley, and she's one of my favorite movie characters of all time, there's no way, I don't care. There's just no way if I'm trying to get out of this ship to escape this alien that I'm going to be going pss, 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 and for a cat to find. There's just
So
The
here's a
cat
question.
played very
Hey,
little to the plot. Okay.
the first time we meet the cat was very much part of the plot when he
Well, yeah,
jumps
the
out and
first
did,
time was.
and
yeah.
I nearly soiled myself with that. So that was it. But again, Caleb, you've seen all the Alien movies, right?
I've seen most of them.
Or the
I
ones
don't
that
know.
have Sigourney Weaver in it,
Yeah, I've
correct?
seen the ones that have Sigourney Weaver.
All right. Again, I can't confirm this. So I'll ask you. At the end of every movie, isn't she saving somebody?
Yeah, I mean that's yeah
And
that
so
that
this,
def
I mean,
that definitely
but
becomes her character. But I mean, at this point, I mean, I don't think they ever
yeah,
expected this to
no,
be a multi movie franchise. So
no.
it's
I'm
like
grabbing the cat and I'm throwing it like bait. So here you go.
Yeah,
Go infect
exactly.
the cat.
here, and also here's why dogs are better. If this was dogs, you could just like shake a box of treats and it would come running. Like you don't need to go looking for the cat.
You're telling me a dog's not going to recognize this as a horrible situation and be right there by your side to begin with?
Yeah, dogs
I'm
like
I'm surprised. I'm surprised the cat wasn't already in that little side ship and didn't say bye, deuces. I'm ejecting,
Yeah.
leaving you behind.
but
I'll
yeah.
tell you one
So
thing that.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'll tell you one thing that kind of I didn't really understand was her getting mad at the fact that she wasn't able to self destruct it and calling it a bunch of names. Like, it gave you a timeline. It told you when you weren't going to be able to do this anymore. And you lost it. Like, why are you mad at it and throwing things and hitting it? Like, it's kind of your own fault. That's
No,
not.
no. I'm gonna tell you what makes me mad is Lambert sitting there, and I guess to Ernie's point, I guess she plays the part well, but oh, it still makes me mad when Parker's like, "Get out of the way," and she's just sitting there screaming, like, "I can't!" Like the frick, you can't. I'll burn. Like, if I was Parker, I'd be like, "All right, I'll burn you too," because I mean,
Exactly.
one of us is gonna make it out of here.
Yeah. I forgot. I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
But the whole, and and I get this as a horror movie, but we talked about this, and I said that I've always thought this was more suspenseful than it is scary to me. But the whole thing with the self destruct, and it's it's beeping, you get that, and then you get to where she's going to the shuttle and she realizes the alien's blocking her path, so she's like, I have to go back and board, and that's just great suspense. I mean, it really keeps you like on the edge of your seat the entire
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Again,
did. Building
the
up the whole
build of
time.
the movie is good. Again, like I said, I thought Halloween did a good job of it.
Hmm.
Nah, Alien did a fantastic job of building up the suspense throughout the whole entire movie. Again, does a great job of the reveal of Xenomorph, and just it was done well like that.
Well, as Ripley prepares for stasis, she discovers the alien has stowed itself in a narrow compartment. She dons a spacesuit and flushes it out. It approaches Ripley, but before it can kill her, she opens the airlock door. The resulting explosive decompression almost ejects the alien into space, but it hangs onto the door frame. Ripley fires a grappling hook gun to push it out, and it activates the engines, blasting the alien into space. After recording her final log entry, she places Jones and herself into stasis for the trip back to Earth. So this, I mean, let's go back to it. I mean, this at the end of the day, this is a horror movie. And so what's the trope that we get in the we did Scream a few episodes ago where he says
he comes back from one last
scare. So this is kind of the horror movie trope. You think everything's okay, she's good now, and then she's looking and there it is. Now it is kind of a little less scary that it's just kind of wedged in there and its tail just kind of pops out. But I mean, again, talking about a masterclass of directing. I mean, to make you think that everything's okay and you can relax now, and then figure out you can't. Just another great job.
Was the alien just asleep?
No, it was I think it was stuck, which is again why I think it makes it less scary. But it had because it wedged itself into this compartment, so I think it was kind of stuck.
That was one thing I didn't understand was like she was right there. Like it could have reached out and easily grabbed a hold of her, and it didn't even attempt that. Like she just went and hid in the corner, and then put a suit on. That was one thing that I didn't really understand was why it just kind of stopped. Like it wasn't. It didn't. It just to me it seemed like it didn't even notice her.
I don't know. I've always gone with the assumption that it was kind of stuck with where it was at, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So, all right. Nobody else has anything to add?
No, just again, I like at the end too. You assume that the alien is gone. You assume that it's, but so it allows you to have the thought of this movie is over with, but is it? And so without doing the truly dangling like Avengers. Oh, we have to have a part 2. They left it open to the possibility of something else without just like shoving it down your throat.
Well,
like a porno.
I think the room with 100 eggs in there does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have two different looks at this. Obviously, yes, I mean it leaves it open for the possibility of the sequel. But if you want to talk about something that's scary, as she's doing her log entry, she's saying that with any hope, I'll reach the frontier in 6 weeks. So she's putting herself into sleep, which is the only option. But she really doesn't know where she's going, and if she'll ever reach there. So she may never come out of that. That's pretty terrifying. But you have to do it. There's no other choice. You have to put yourself in cryo sleep. But which I guess, if
hello?
Hello?
Sorry, it's something just like all of a sudden voices went out and I was like, okay.
But the thought of, which I guess if you're going to go out, going out of sleep like that is a way to go. But still, the thought of I may never wake up again that's pretty scary and pretty scary final thought to leave a movie with.
Especially at your own hands, you know that evidently you're the one that's pressing the button, and I can find better ways to die than being stuck in cryostasis with a cat. That's I do like the idea of my body just being jettisoned off into space. It's number 2 behind a Viking funeral, where they shoot the flaming arrow with me on a pallet in the water, and I go
better
up in
than
flames.
better than Kane's ejected into space. I guess.
At
least he got a tube.
Does anybody have any last words? Yeet. But again, I mean, she's not actually dying. So I mean, she could live for the rest of her life, like the rest of eternity. If she's never found, she's just not going to wake up.
Yeah,
that's still a crazy way to think about it.
She wouldn't know any better. That's the thing. That
you're telling me she's pulling a Steve Rogers thing where she's just like it's stuck in ice forever.
Pretty much, yeah. Until someone finds her.
How do you keep your body from just going into atrophy, though?
No, this is a movie. This is a movie in space with an alien.
Science. This is based on science. We are scientifically trying to figure out this.
But and not obviously, we'll do aliens at some point. But just a sneak preview. I mean, she does when we get into aliens. It's like 80-something years later. So I mean, yeah, I mean that's a long time to be asleep.
This old lady's
she
gonna
stayed
save
asleep
us.
for 80 years?
Yeah, in the beginning of Aliens, they find her, and it's like I don't know the exact number, but it's a long freaking time later. Yeah, it's definitely not 6 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
She
Then.
does not reach the frontier in 6 weeks. Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen Aliens yet. But yes, she does not reach the frontier in 6 weeks. She undershot that estimate a little bit.
Just a bit outside.
Didn't they say that somewhere that it was in the movie that they wouldn't reach back to Earth for like 10 months or something like that?
Yeah.
That makes sense since that's about how long they were in cryostasis to begin with.
Yeah,
So.
like that. I think when they were woken up, like it was, they still had 10 months left to travel. Like they were only halfway through their travel or something.
I wonder if she gets. I wonder if she would get all the other crew members' money.
Not according to the contract. That's not in the contract, Ferg.
I'm not gonna say anything because we will hopefully do Aliens at some point.
You only get what's in your contract. Isn't that what Dallas said or something?
I would be telling them fighting off a alien with acid blood was not in my contract. But
they would probably say you didn't read the fine print.
So that brings us to the end of our movie reviewing or portion of the podcast. I guess now it's time to go into the rankings portion. For those that don't know or are listening for the first time, we rank it 1 to 10, and we have our groupings. Our blockbuster, we have Blockbuster, which is 9 to 10. Popcorn worthy is 8 to 9. Cult classic is 6.5 to 8. Matinee only is 5 to 6.5, and straight to video is anything below a 5. We have yet to have anything go below a cult classic. Is that right? Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah, correct. Jumanji was the lowest rated with a 6.5 overall,
which is right on the money at a cult classic. So, all right. Since last week, it was my movie last week, but I asked if I could not go first. I will go first this week.
Because you know what you're going to. Again, when it's not questionable, I'll be happy to go first.
No, I asked very politely last week, and Ernie wasn't going to let me, but thankfully Dakota, out of the goodness of his heart, let me go second.
You would have kept on kicking and screaming about not going first over and over, even if Dakota said no. Dakota just knew.
That's when we upload the YouTube video of Fur turning blue in the flames.
Anyways, so I mean, I saw this movie for the first time probably 5 years ago or something like that, and again, I'm gonna. There's a caveat here. So, Alien and Aliens, I think, like I said, I find it hard to believe there's a better 1-2 movie and sequel out there. Maybe The Godfather, maybe Terminator. But there's very few, and they're very different movies. And a lot of people have different opinions. I prefer Aliens. I think it's a better movie. But that being said, this movie is still fantastic. And it works. It's a horror, it's a haunted house horror movie, like I've said. It builds great suspense. It has great underlining meanings. It has a fantastic portrayal by Sigourney Weaver, who, kickstarts the Ripley character, which is a great movie character. You're not going to find many movie characters better than her, especially not female hero characters. And so while I don't like this as much as Aliens, this is still a fantastic movie, and I'm going to give it a 9.25 out of 10.
Wow, what was I say about what you give Aliens?
Oh, we'll get there.
If you think this is
we'll get there.
Not as good as Aliens.
We'll get there. I mean, it's very close. There's a lot of people that are split. A lot of people like Alien better. A lot of people like Aliens better. It really just comes down to taste. Because, like I said, they're two very different movies while still sharing similar concepts. But they're, Aliens more haunted house horror. Aliens is more sci-fi epic action. So it really just comes down to taste. But yes, I do prefer Aliens. But that, like I said, Alien is still a great movie. So 9.25.
You want to go ahead, Ferg?
Sure, I'll go next. As we know, this is not my jam. This is not my favorite type of genre of movie. I don't enjoy like my shoulders being tensed up, my white knuckle in the chair, or anything like that. With that being said, this movie is fantastic. It is incredibly done. It's incredibly artistic. I like the hidden fact that again, if you don't go into this movie not knowing anything, I love the hidden fact that Sigourney Weaver is your protagonist, and it's not revealed until later on that she is the person that's going to try to save everybody. The three visuals, the face hugger, the chest buster, or whatever it's called, and then the whole entire death scene with Ash. Uh, all well done. The built up tension throughout the whole entire movie was well done. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, but the artistic part of it, again, the simple background of the ship works really well. So for me, I am giving Alien a 9.5.
All right, I guess that leaves me. Man, like I said, this is the first time I've ever watched this movie. I haven't seen um one other in the franchise earlier this year. Um, I love this genre. I love the sci-fi fantasy, the whole 9 yards. Like it's right up my alley, and this movie was 100% right up my alley. Just I mean, kind of just echoing what Ferg said, just like the suspense, the low budget film that was, they take and they use like, hey, like, okay, we don't need to have a guy in costume every single day because we're going to have an alien in every single scene, like just not knowing where he's at, not knowing when he's going to pop up, not knowing when he's going to be there. And the way that they use that, the way they built up to it, and then just the twist of especially of finding out that, wow. But especially finding out that Ash was an android the whole time, uh, really threw me for a loop, honestly. But I really enjoyed it. I really liked it, and I think that the writing in this was done very well. The acting was done very well. Um, I think I'm going to give this a 9.5 as well because like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this entire thing.
All right, so a 9.5, a 9.5, and a 9.25 brings us out to a 9.41 or 9.42 actually. Ernie, where does that put us on our list?
That puts us at number one. It dethrones Jurassic Park at the number one spot. So Alien has become number one. If you would have told me at the beginning of this that I would have gotten it this high, I would have said you are absolutely nuts.
I don't, because I think a lot of people love this movie, and I've really never had anybody like just that I know or anybody or that I've seen just reviews or anything say anything bad about this movie. And
again, that goes back to the fact though that again, like I said, I don't like this genre of movie at all. Now, I will probably not watch it again.
But that's exactly what the point I'm getting, that even someone like you that doesn't like horror films are still going to be like, man, this is a fantastic movie. So I think when you get, I mean, that just goes to show you the level of this movie brings. And so, and like I said, Aliens is kind of the same way. And so, you're looking at a movie and sequel. I mean, it's still Godfather or Terminator. I mean, that's off the top of my head the only movies I can think of that have a better 1-2 punch that possibly have a better 1-2 punch than Aliens.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's a 9.42 that brings us at the top of the list, edging out Jurassic Park, like Ernie said. Obviously, that is a blockbuster. So, and that's what, our third blockbuster? Fourth blockbuster, with Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, and Halloween. Correct?
Yes.
All right. So again, happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate everybody that's been listening to our show. We're hoping to have some new things coming out with I mentioned on our last episode, me and Dakota are going to hopefully have some new content, bonus content coming out with current movies that are in theaters. We'll see how that goes. And then we're trying to get a website going. Ernie's already started that. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Before we send it out to the public, we have some refining to do a little bit of it, but we'll see how that works.
But in the meantime, like I said, happy Thanksgiving, and then next week will be our first December episode. What will it be, Ernie Ferguson? Because it is your pick.
It is. Well, we've gotten dark with New Jack City, Batman, and Alien. And so I need to lighten it up. And I'm going with our first Western. And I guarantee neither one of y'all have seen it. It is called Silverado, 1985 movie Silverado with Kevin Kline, Kevin Costner, it is one of those. I don't expect to get a blockbuster out of it, but it's one of those movies. It's one of my go-to movies where I just want to sit back and have fun and enjoy a movie, and that's what Silverado is. So we'll see. I'm enjoying to share. I enjoy sharing movies with y'all.
I think I have this book actually. I haven't read it, but I'm pretty sure that I have it somewhere.
Now again, as we've noted, as known between Dakota and Caleb, my mindset changes constantly because this week it has changed from Clue, The Lion King, and then yeah. Why are you laughing at The Lion King for?
I'm not. I love The Lion King.
I'm about to say, yeah, again, because that's one thing is I'd like doing something a little bit different. So again, I don't want to sit there and
surprised you didn't pull out a Wizard of Oz.
No, 1930. Even though I have taught the Wizard of Oz and taught the populist movement in my class, I have since I've taught for 20-something years, I have watched the Wizard of Oz for like 15 straight years, at least 3 times to 5 times a day. So 5 times a year. And so no, I'm not. Even though Wicked is out, and I think my wife and I may try to go see Wicked tomorrow. We'll kind of see. So if y'all go see that, then I could join in the podcast about that. But we have a hard enough time getting together to try to do one. So especially when I'm out of state. But yeah, that's Caleb's doing research on Silverado right now.
No, I was just looking. I mean, I have not seen it, but I haven't seen a lot of westerns. Westerns aren't. I don't dislike westerns. Tombstone. I love Tombstone, but I don't generally look out westerns. So, but
there's not a lot. But again,
although technically you said that this would be our first western, although I think Zorro is technically a western.
That is true.
It is. Was it under the swashbuckler or whatever it was?
It's more of a pirate movie without the water, or ship, or silver. Well, it does have gold though,
or pirates.
It does have gold.
There's a masked man though.
Exactly. So I mean, that's close enough.
All right.
Batman's a pirate then.
All right, so 9.42 for Alien. That makes it our highest movie. Silverado will be next week's episode. Anything else to add?
Other than our goodbyes.
All right, Ernie.
As we see you at the movies, Nino Brown is Blade.